actually exceeded that of last year's candidate. This became a big problem, and the teacher asked his assistant to keep this malfunction a secret and not tell anyone. He had no choice, and the assistant had to keep silent about it. The teacher announced the beginning of the next test. It consisted of manifesting Xiao Sinyu's beast bloodline. He asked Xiao Sinyu to summon his beast, and he fulfilled the teacher's command with burning eyes. Finally, it was Blackfang's turn. A moment later, the beast's strong paws descended to the ground right in front of the teacher. Xiao Sinyu summoned his beast. It was a very fairy-like moment. Everyone around them held their breath and eagerly waited for further developments. A moment later, the puppy appeared and sprawled like a child on the ground. He was very cute and helpless. The people in the crowd knew very well that this beast had a low pedigree. They began to take great offense at Xiao Sinyu's choice because none of them would ever take him as their beast. The teacher explained that besides the bloodline of the beast, the quality of its red liquid also meant a lot, because this factor could limit an animal tamer in the future. The teacher was very sad to realize that Xiao Sinyu's beast had low-quality red liquid. He was very sorry, but he had to inform Xiao Sinyu that he was unable to pass the second trial because of his beast. Suddenly, someone from the crowd paid attention to what was going on. They seemed to have seen something interesting that made them dare to interrupt the teacher's speech. And as suddenly from a cute puppy sharply grew a powerful beast, all present were in complete shock from what they saw. And after such a thing, he definitely stopped looking like a galehound, because at the very least, they didn't have any evolution. Pointing his sensor at the beast, a system panel popped up in front of the teacher. It contained all the information about the animal, and seeing that it had the second level of evolution, the teacher was completely confused. He couldn't believe his eyes that this was actually happening at the moment. Looking at Xiao Sinyu, he actually realized that this guy was really something special. The teacher announced the results of the exam, and it went well. Xiao Sinyu was accepted into Qinglong Academy. The couple couldn't believe that Xiao Sinyu had actually managed to pass the exam and get into the academy. And feeling humiliated, they decided to leave the place. Suddenly, they were called out by Xiao Sinyu. He decided to remind the rich kid that he was obligated to say goodbye to his daddy. This really pissed him off. He clearly had no intention of honoring his earlier word. He didn't care at all about what he had promised earlier, because he clearly wasn't used to being humiliated. This made Xiao Sinyu very angry, and he called out to his beast with a vicious look. The kid was very scared and didn't know what to expect from Xiao Sinyu in the future. This beast's strength was very powerful. It was easily able to tip the kid to the ground and crush him with its strong paw. The guy was simply furious at what was happening. There was nothing left for him but to fulfill his earlier words. And through his teeth he said, "Daddy." Xiao Sinyu turned around and said that he didn't have a son like this freak, while ordering him to immediately disappear from here. Lena suddenly changed her mind and ran to him and told him that she wanted them to be together because she felt that her feelings for Xiao Sinyu had changed a lot. She was sure that he would be happy to give her a chance. But luckily that didn't happen, and with his head held high, Xiao Sinyu let her know that he clearly wasn't going to go back in time, especially not with a lowly girl like her. She fell to her knees and started begging him for forgiveness, but he didn't care about her, and all she had to do was stare at the man walking away. He pulled out his phone to tell his sister the good news about his enrollment in Qinglong Academy. She picked up the phone and he greeted her. He was preparing to tell her the great news. And suddenly the connection cut off, and he couldn't hear anything on the other end of the phone. The good news seems to have to wait. But he didn't understand why it had happened at all. The events had moved right to the outskirts of Qifeng City, closer to the farmer's market. It was some kind of chaos. Someone from the crowd reported that a very huge number of monsters had invaded their land, and one should run away from there as soon as possible. One woman shouting from the crowd couldn't find her small child in the midst of it all. And after a moment, the child was in the arms of that screaming mother. She hugged her very tightly and hid her in her tender arms, but the baby was very frightened. Suddenly a huge shadow appeared right above them. The girl was very much afraid for her life and for the life of her little daughter. She didn't know what to do next. It was a very huge monster, and it seems that they were waiting for a very sad end, because she could not find any way out of the situation. Xiao Xinyu was confused. He couldn't understand what had happened at all. It was just chaos all around. People were very scared and screaming for help. But what worried him at the moment was the whereabouts of his sister. He was very worried about her, and did not know how he would be able to find her in this epicenter of events. And turning around, he saw a huge monster that was about to attack a woman with a child. It turned out to be his sister, and quickly reacting, he and his beast rushed to their aid. Red liquid started pouring from his eyes again, and he couldn't understand why this was happening to him again. The system panel abruptly appeared in front of him and showed the available skills of his beast. He had to make a decision whether to use them or not. He immediately started to click on the button to use all the available skills, because his sister's future depended on it. But for some reason the system blocked him from using the skills, or they just didn't work. He was furious and couldn't understand why this was happening. The demonic beast was already almost at its target. It only had a few centimeters left for it to destroy them. They were very scared. They clearly didn't want this kind of end to their lives. Qinglong Academy had been renamed Blue Dragon Academy. Xiao Xinyu was very scared, and he didn't understand why this was happening to him. Suddenly, he remembered that the people from the Blue Dragon Academy had recited some kind of spell last time. He had no choice but to try this chance too. At the beginning of the chaos before heaven and earth are divided, he clones his red liquid and summons spirits from the void. And it seems a miracle happened, and he succeeded. The beast's body began to reincarnate into a strong and powerful one. Xiao Xinyu swore by his red liquid and was able to perform this spell. He ordered the beast to listen only to his commands, and the first command sounded, "Go, it's time to save them." The beast moved straight towards the huge demon. It was going to have to fight in a battle with the monster for the lives of each of them. A moment later, the monster immobilized on the ground, and it had no signs of life left. Did Xiao Xinyu really manage to defeat this terrifying demon? He was shocked at the real strength of the beast-taming master. He realized that his sister was still near the monster's body. So as soon as possible, he rushed to help them. He ran up to them to make sure they were all right. They were both happy to finally see each other. The sister was completely shocked at what her brother had done. Xiao Xinyu finally took a moment to tell his sister the good news. On this day, he had passed the Azure Dragon Academy exam, and now he could control beasts just like the other students. As a small beast suddenly jumped right into Xiao Xinyu's arms, his sister was completely shocked by what she saw. And accepting it into his embrace, he introduced his beast to his sister. Specifically now, the puppy looked very cute, and its name was Hell Wolf, although you couldn't tell from its appearance. The humans were in complete shock at what they saw. Had the demon really been destroyed? Xiao Xinyu and his sister reported with pride on their faces that the monster had indeed been destroyed, and there was no longer any danger to humans. Xiao Xinyu and his beast had displayed their skills to the best of their ability. Just as suddenly, the very mother of the girl who had lost her during the danger ran out from the crowd. She was very happy to see her child alive and unharmed. The little girl was very happy to finally hug her mom. She was still scared and cried as soon as she saw her. The woman thanked the beast taming master for being able to save her daughter. Xiao Xinyu, along with his sister, decided to approach the monster and see if he had actually succeeded. A system panel popped up in front of him and awarded him the monster's core. He was very surprised, but on the other hand, he was happy because he had gotten the initial stage of the poison core. He threw this core directly to his beast, and the beast was overjoyed, because even the initial core could improve his beast's evolution. The terrifying monster was finally destroyed, and everyone could relax. All the people who were there began to thank Xiao Xinyu, because it was only because of him that they had survived now. He was their true hero. Suddenly, the little girl he had saved from the monster earlier came up to him from the crowd and told him that she wanted to be like him. He assured her that she had everything ahead of her and that she would definitely reach some heights in the future. The sun had already completely set behind the horizon. It was completely dark, and only a bright month illuminated the expanse of the sky. Xiao Xinyu had long since peacefully slept in his bed. He was very tired during the day, so he fell asleep very quickly. And for some unknown reason, Xiao Xinyu's sister was standing at his bedside. She was watching him very intently. Suddenly, her eyes suddenly shone with a bright blue light. And because of that, she saw a bright blue seal on Xiao Xinyu's back, with the features of a beast on it. She spoke to someone on the phone and told them that the Dragon King's seal was still in place. Sister needed to find out why the dragon curse was still on Xiao Xinyu's body and affecting him. She shouted furiously at someone on the phone. She was very agitated because she couldn't understand why Xiao Xinyu still had the ability to contract with the beast. For some reason, she didn't see any sense in it. On the other side of the tube, a voice informed her that it was most likely his destiny, and that was why she should keep her eyes on him and watch Xiao Xinyu's every move. She agreed with the speaker on the phone and promised that she would fulfill this assignment. She simply must keep an eye on Xiao Xinyu. But who is this unknown person with whom she is discussing matters about Xiao Xinyu's life? Further developments will only get more interesting.